Now I have my own funeral arrangements more or less done because my daughter said she wouldn't be able to do it because she loved me so much she wouldn't be able to make me funeral arrangements. So she asked me, well, she thinks I have them made, only have my name on them because if they see them here they'll think I'm gone batty altogether if I'm sending down a funeral with my name on it and I'm not dead. So I have it started. The American casket, which is I think lovely with the eiderdown, and if I had a hot water bottle I'd be alright. And a lovely pillow. This is too wide, so they charge an extra 200 in all cemeteries to bury this because they have to widen all the graves. An awful lot of people and gunshot victims and all go for this, and the itinerants, they love these because you can put everything down here and hide it all away with the money and everything, and there's no way of finding it. So this is called the American casket. This was lovely when it was red roses. It's now horrible because it has green on it. I liked it when it was red roses, but anyway I don't want it now. This is also very expensive. It's 3,500. I hope there's nobody in it, it's rocking a bit. It's 3,500 and I wouldn't pay 3,500 for it. I'm working in Jennings Funeral Directors for 14 and a half years. I got this job through a friend of mine that was also working with me in another funeral home, and she left to come here, and then she phoned me to say they were looking for somebody else and I volunteered. I do all the arranging and the booking of graves and the church and everything else. And then it's also behind the scenes where the deceased has to be embalmed and dressed and laid out, and then families come and view them. This room was lovely. There was no chairs in here. It was couches along here and here and here. But then when all these lay ministers started coming, they said no, it should be done like a chapel, and they wanted to stand there and talk and let people sit and listen. I've come and said prayers for people that would have no priest and nobody would know the prayers, and neither would I, but they'd ask me. So I'd sort of say the Hail Mary, hoping that they'd sort of join in, and if I made a mistake they wouldn't know. An awful lot of people have asked me to say the prayers. I have done it. The lads all said, you're very good up in Coolock at saying prayers, and I said, yeah, but they don't know any prayers up in Coolock. I always wanted to come here when I die, but now I have gone off this room completely. I don't like the chairs, so I will die if somebody puts me in this room. One of the lads said he's going to put me in here because I always told him I wanted to be in here. I suggest that was when the room was nice. I also have a thing about Rolls Royce cars, and they have one hearse that's a Rolls Royce. So even at my mother's funeral, one of the lads came up and he said, Vera, I have the Rolls Royce around the corner because I know you'd love it and your mother would love it. And I said, no, my mother wouldn't love it and I certainly don't want it. So we just had the ordinary hearse, but definitely I don't want this room and I don't want the Rolls Royce. I cope fairly well, except if it's a young person's funeral or if it's a family that have lost a child. Most cases, it's a very sensitive subject because the child's usually young. First thing I do anyway is before I even open the door, I'm in tears. And then we go through the rigmarole of making the arrangements and doing everything and trying to console them. The family like to have babies at home and they sort of care for them themselves. They also don't use a hearse or a car, they usually use a family car, and usually families just go with them out to the church and the cemetery. The embalmer that's doing this job for 38 years said the only time he ever gets upset is if it's a baby. He went out to a house once and actually stood outside the gate crying his eyes out, and he didn't even know the child. So that's all really about young children that we get affected by. Normally, most people that come in here are 70, 75, 80, the odd 100, and then maybe 35, 40. It's a very rewarding job, I think, because you're helping people, you're doing your very best for them, and in most cases they do appreciate what we do. Sometimes families annoy me, and when they're gone out the door, I say, I can't say a bad word, F off, meaning the full word. But most families are very appreciative of what we do. We have an out yet dead file. I have the coffin on it and I have the cemetery I want to go to because my husband is there, so I'll probably join him. And that's as far as I got in making my own funeral arrangements. But as I say, I can't send it down, so I'll have to tell Sharon where it is so she can tell her it's in the drawer in the office, in the not yet dead file, because I'm not yet dead.